All right, to wrap up the conditional section, we're going to talk about the else keyword. And so this is actually pretty simple. It's the else keyword kind of complements the if keyword. So we'll take a look at that in a bit. Let me just remove a couple of things here, and we'll run through an example. Okay, so we're keeping the Boolean variable. It is raining outside for now on line 4. Um, we're also keeping the print statement to let us know that we are about to enter the if statement. And we're going to keep the if statement pretty much as is. So we're going to ask ourselves, if it is raining outside, print out this statement. Now we're going to introduce the else keyword. Okay, and the else keyword is slightly different from the if keyword in the sense that the else does not need to have parentheses with it. In fact, if you add parentheses, you'll get an error. So remove that. So let's do a brief explanation on what we're looking at here. So the if statement will still behave in the exact same way it's been behaving for the past 2 or 3 videos. It'll ask itself, okay, if it is still raining, or if it is raining outside, so if the conditional returns true, in this case, if this variable holds the value of true, execute this line of code. If not, though, if this is not true, so if this does not evaluate to true, execute this line of code. Okay, so you can actually read, or you can pretend that this else actually says if not or something. That's the way I kind of conceptualize it. Um, if if this is true, run whatever's inside of that if statement body. If not, then execute whatever's inside of the else statement. And right now we don't have anything in our else statement, so let's add something into it. So let's just do um, another print statement. I'm going to copy it because I'm lazy. So I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to change the message to something else. Maybe if it is raining outside, wear a raincoat, and if it's not raining outside, aka else, um, we'll say you don't need a raincoat. Okay, so if I run this, once our compiler reaches line 8, it'll ask itself, okay, is it is raining outside true? In this case, it is, so it'll print out this message. And let's double check that. Yep, it does. So it prints out wear a raincoat, which is the code that gets executed inside of the if statement. And the code that's inside of the if statement gets executed because the conditional in the if returns true. But now, what if it didn't? What if it was set to false? What if it's not raining outside? What if it is raining outside is equal to false? Let's run that. So in this case, once our compiler gets to line 8, Java will ask itself, okay, is it is raining outside true? And in this case, it's not, it's false. So this whole thing is false, right? So that means this does not execute. But we have an else statement here. So if this is not true, this will execute. Everything inside the body here will execute. And that's exactly what happens. You don't need a raincoat gets printed out into the console here. And again, that's because the if-else statements, the if and the else statement work together. So that if the if statement returns false, in other words, if this conditional is false, this will not execute. The body of the if statement will not execute. Instead, the body of the else statement will execute. Okay. So one last thing to consider before concluding this section on conditionals is you can actually also check for so you can also check for the statement to not be true. So if you can check for the conditional to not be true. So in this case, let's do true. It is raining outside. So in case maybe you don't want to have an else statement here because the notation looks kind of like clunky. It's kind of hard to read. So maybe you don't want to have an else statement to execute some code um, when this condition returns false. In this case, what you want to do is actually check for this to be false. And if it's false, you want to run this code inside of the if statement's body. So to check if this is false, all you need to do is add an asterisk, I'm sorry, exclamation point before the conditional. In our case, the conditional is just one variable. So this reads as if not, it is raining outside. Okay. So this exclamation point um, combined with the variable, it is raining outside, uh, means that the conditional will return true if it is raining outside is false. Okay, and that's confusing because we haven't looked at kind of double negatives here. So what we're looking for here is for this variable, it is raining outside to be false. And if it's false, the conditional of it is not true returns true because it's not true. And that's really confusing. Um, but it's again one of those things that the more you practice it, the more you become familiar with it, and the easier it becomes, obviously. So if we run this, we only see the before and the after messages printed out because um, this conditional only return true when the value of this is false. So if we change this to false and run that, we'll actually see this statement be printed out because now we're checking. We want to make sure that that this variable is false. We don't want it to be true anymore because we added the exclamation point at the front. So we're checking for a false statement here. And if the statement here is false, then this evaluates to true, and this message is printed out. And so that's exactly what happens here. So again, practice this a little bit more. Make sure that you understand what the exclamation point does to a conditional. It basically just reverses it. So instead of the conditional executing when um, the condition is true, the condition will allow the code to execute when the condition is false.